Hey everybody, how are you doing? I hope everybody is doing well. If you aren't, I think today is going to be a very, very good day, in spite of whatever's going on in your life right now, because so much going on in our world. But it's such a special day because I have a special person with us, and that is the one and only Chief Montana. Chief Montana is in Ghana. How are you doing out there?
Doing fantastic. How you doing, Miss Kathy?
I'm doing fantastic too. Listen, everybody has kind of heard of your name, but a lot of people don't know you or what you do, but you are very integral to me. I mentioned you briefly in my videos and talked about the divinations. So if you could just tell everybody really quickly, who is this chief, what you do, what is a divination, just briefly, and then we'll get into how it helped me and how your teachings and how your leadership has really changed my whole life and got me here to Gambia. So if you could just tell everybody what you do, who you are, and we can start like that.
Okay, sure. I am Chief Montana, or you say Mba Montana. Also, I am a warrior chief with the Dagbani people in the far northern region of Ghana. I know many people have never heard of them, but they're in northern Ghana. And I'm actually in Ghana right now, as you can see, as Art said. Because I actually was here when the pandemic started, so I'm not able to come home right now. But nevertheless, I am committed to actually having people of African descent throughout the world, throughout the diaspora, to actually reconnect with our roots, reconnect with our ancestors. Our ancestors sit at the foundation of all of it. And when we talk about what was taken from us, the ancestor connection, ancestor communication is the most vital thing.
Yes, it is. Okay, thank you for saying that. Well, I know connecting with my ancestors was, the game changer for me. And when I met him, guys, it was about 2017. A lot of stuff was going on in my life. And I met him and I was able to learn and incorporate his teachings into my business. At the time, I was doing ancestral arranged match. I had just launched it and just getting started with it. And then I met him, and really he took ancestral arranged match with my matchmaking service. He took that to the next level because it's one thing to be able to match people from their physical attributes, what they want on a surface westernized level, but matchmaking for us as Africans, it needs to be a lot more specific, and we kind of gotten out of the real way that we should go about doing marriage and relationships. So I think that he was able to really come in and bring more of a context and make it African centered. So it's been a pleasure working with him. But that period of my life, it was a very dark period for me and my business. It wasn't much going on. And I remember him showing me how to communicate with my ancestors and taking it seriously. So after that, everything just, it's, the rest is history, as they say. But I remember not knowing fully what this ancestor thing was. Remember that I wasn't really that serious about it. I mean, I know you see a lot of students go through that, but I know I had to start doing it. But you told me one day, you said, until you start getting serious about your spiritual life and this part of your spiritual life, your life is not going to change. But so here we are, 3 years later, from 2017, I was able to form the womb school. We co-wrote the book, An Intro to Breaking Soul Ties and Womb Cleansing. And we've done so much to help wake people up in regards to what the African practice prior to slavery. So do you remember that period for me and what that was like? Because where I am today and where I came from, who I am, my temperament, all of that, what can you say to that growth? Because a lot of people have questions and I want to get into how I got here, how the divinations helped me. But what can you say as far as my growth from 2017 to now, knowing about ancestors and not knowing about ancestors?
Well, I mean, it's been like tremendous growth. Like you're far removed from the person that you were or who you were when I met you. I mean, it's not even close. But the thing about, being able to communicate with our ancestors, it's just something that we're not used to. And I can tell that's something you weren't used to. And for most people, it's a good idea. That's what it is for most people. It's really just a good idea. And most people will go and do ancestral reverence. And so ancestral reverence, that's one thing. But ancestral renewal and communication, that's something totally different. That's when you're in a space where you're actually using your ancestors for the purpose in which they were meant to be used for, and having them work in your life. It's great to pour libation. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's great to leave cupcakes, whatever people do. If some people leave a whole, like they'll leave an entire meal. I'm not saying anything is wrong with that. But the key is having your ancestors really, truly be at the foundation of your life, and you build on top of that, because the reality is you are an ancestor. You just happen to be in this animated form. That's the only difference that separates you from your ancestors. But nevertheless, to see you grow over the past 3 years has been a real treat. And to see you, struggle at times, along your growth, because, we're trained not to listen. We're trained to struggle. We're trained to do, whatever we want to do. But when you really start to return to the foundation in which our ancestors stood upon, the thing that was actually practiced in the very beginning, your life alters. Because who you were 3 years ago is someone who was really ill-equipped to be who you are today. I mean, that's the reality of it. And you had to grow. And then it's not even getting to a point where you believe something. Because within our tradition, honestly, there's really no such thing as belief. It's actually knowing. So you didn't have to believe anything. You just had to know it. Because belief has you be in a space where it could or it couldn't happen. But knowing is being in a space of knowing that 2 + 2 is 4. We all know that. And so that's the space that you had to move into. And you remember every time something would happen, you have a little breakdown. What's the first thing I ask you? Go to your people.
That's right. That's right. You being nice, you talking about breakdowns. I was having full meltdowns, y'all. Okay, it was ugly cries. I hate everybody. My life sucks. These ancestors don't care about me. Right? It was all of that.
Yeah, which is typical. It's what your behavior was not strange to me, because I've seen people have those breakdowns because you're so used to dealing with life in a certain way, where everyone has a default behavior in which they use to deal with life. Everyone does. That's how we survive. And to introduce something new, such as ancestral connection, is actually causing you to really reprogram just not your thinking, but really everything about
you. Yeah.
Everything about you has to be reprogrammed, because you have to be able to trust. And most of us in the diaspora, we're trained not to trust. We're literally trained by our institutions not to trust. And so you have to be able to trust. And then you have to be able to be in a space where you don't have to quantify everything. And in the West, everything has to be quantified in order for it to be real.
Right.
You have to put all of that stuff aside, and you have to trust. And then you have to understand that, we didn't get where we are, or you didn't get in the condition you were in overnight. It didn't happen overnight at all. So in order to rise full expression of who you are, or better yet, who you were born into this world as, it's not going to happen overnight. To be in a space where you have peace of mind. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to take as long as it takes you to become someone who doesn't have peace of mind. But it's going to take time. You have to practice, and you have to really trust and allow your ancestors to work and to maneuver and to actually to mold you and to facet you into who is someone who's prepared to be who they came into this world as. Because everyone came into this world as something or someone, but somewhere along the way we forgot who we are, who we came into this world as. And so the process of remembering who that is and then be able to fully live that as a way of being. Not sometimes, not when you feel like it, just every day, in the same way that you breathe air every day. You're being who you are every day because you trained yourself to be somebody anyway. And that's who you show up as every day. So why don't you just go ahead and remove that training and just be who you are underneath it all, who you were born into the world as. So yeah. But your journey it was a great journey. And like when I see your videos now, and I think about the videos that you were producing when I met you, I'm gonna be honest, you were a hot mess.
I'll take that. I'll take that. I was cussing, screaming and hollering, all types of stuff. Lord, y'all go look at my videos in the past. Like you can see the evolution. People have even commented, they like, are you at peace? Are you? You know, I can tell, you know what I mean? They can tell.
Yeah. And then seeing how you matured to a point where you actually you trust the divination. And to see that is when you have a divination will actually tell you your past, present, future. It tells you that. Then it gives you solutions to it. And it says, do this particular yar or this particular prescription, and this will give you the desired outcome based upon what the divination is saying. It's just like when you were told in the divination that you need to move. When you move to Africa, your life is going to be something that you can't even imagine. It's going to block everything in the world.
2 years ago.
Yes, 2 years ago. Absolutely. And I would laugh internally. I never laugh like in your face or like if we were on the phone or something like that, but I would laugh because you would constantly come to me asking for another divination. It always came up the same. Always.
I can laugh about this now because what I've seen unfold, my ancestors are never wrong. They were rearranging stuff I couldn't even imagine. Couldn't even imagine. And when you told me 2 years ago I was supposed to come out here and, do my healing retreats, I was like, where my life was at that time, I was thinking you was crazy. I'm like, I can't go to no Africa. I was like Africa, Smafrica, kind of.
Yeah.
And here it is. Boy, the life just changed in such a way. Now it's Africa only. I mean, life will prove you wrong, your ancestors, and it just speaks to how much your life, and you have to evolve to be ready and sufficient for the destiny that's said to you in a divination. Like you have to grow into that person to be able to receive all those things and be those things. And I just wasn't, I was so not ready. 3 years ago, I was not ready to be here in Africa. And I can tell there's some people now that still need to do some important growth and evolution before they can even come over here. Let me ask you about that really quick. In regards to seeing my growth and my temperament, we see a lot of people now, it's trending to talk about coming to Africa and all of this year return. But let's be honest, do you think everybody is equipped to come here? And how do you think people could really start having that inner conversation about if repatriating is right for them? How should we think about Africa, and who does Africa need right now?
Well, first of all, I would tell everyone to go and get a divination. Don't get a reading, because there's a distinction between a divination and a reading. They're not the same. A divination and a reading can do everything a divination can do, but no. How am I going to say that? A divination can do everything a reading can do, but a reading cannot provide everything a divination can provide at all, because it actually provides solutions to issues, whether they're favorable or unfavorable. And so that's without going into too much detail, that's like one of the major differences. There's some other differences also. And so I would advise people actually really really have a divination. The divination will actually reveal to you like what actions you need to take, what's the best course you need to follow in order to, fulfill maybe your dream of coming to the continent. Because sometimes people will mistake a message for a good idea, or a good idea for a message, because something is trending. And people, you have people say, oh, yeah, I'm being led to go to Africa. Really, just an idea for you, a good idea that came up because it's trending. If you're someone who's been driven to make that move before it became trending, before the year returned, if you're that person, then there's 9 times out of 10, your ancestors have been pointing you there, that there's something on the continent for you. And you can find out what that is via divination, definitely. And the divination will just reveal everything that you're going to experience, whether or not you're going to have a difficult time when you get there, whether or not you get there it's going to be easy. It will reveal all those things to you. So I would advise like that being the first step. Now, once you do that, when you come to the continent, you need to take all of your expectations and leave them at the crib. Because in order to survive, in order to thrive, you have to not have expectations. I know some people may think, wow, everybody should have expectations. The expectations actually put you in a box. And an expectation itself, it's the true nature of an expectation is for it to go unfulfilled. When you have these expectations, you're actually living out a fantasy that you created in your mind of how things should and should not be. And when they do not turn that way, you're left with disappointment. And you're like, Africa ain't nothing. I thought I was going to get there. People this, and you just have this huge upset around it. Because your expectation actually fulfill this true nature, which is for it to go unfulfilled. And so you come with no expectations and you come with a plan that's different. A plan is something that's malleable. A plan is something that's adjustable. An expectation is not adjustable. You can't adjust an expectation. You create a different expectation, but the current one, you cannot adjust it at all. And so you have to come with a plan. And when I say a plan, I don't mean you have to have this long pieces of a plan. You just have to have an idea of what you're gonna do when you hit the ground, period. That's all you need. You don't need, $50,000 in the bank. You don't need, 1,001 hookups when you get here. You don't really need that. You just need to have a plan. And it's great if you know someone when you get here, so you can put your boots on the ground, you can start navigating the environment easy. And I'd advise like coming out to the continent maybe a few times before you make that final move, so you can get, a feel of the environment, a feel of the culture, a feel of the land, and you can actually see exactly how you can contribute to the society. It's very easy to see it. I mean, all of it is like right in your face. And when you come to visit, don't come as a tourist. That's not going to be a good thing. You can't really see everything you need to see to actually have you to use your creative juices to say, oh, okay, I can do this, and this. As a tourist, you're going to be in touristy areas. You're going to be at tourists go, which does not promote creativity. Anyway, I could talk about that all day.
Well, that's good because I mean, man, what's going on for me now is right on point with the divination, but it had nothing to do with what I thought I was going to be doing coming out here. If that makes sense. I thought I was going to come out here and shoot a documentary. I knew I was going to be vlogging, but man, I had no idea. And so you're right. I had the network. I knew I was going to be at a house, at a compound. I had some people, Quasi was here to welcome me, and that's all I needed, but I was clear that I was supposed to be here. That's all I had. Mm-hmm. That was it, and that's all you need. And that's what I'm realizing, is that's all you need. I don't care if it's a desert out there. If your ancestors say go out there, it's going to be a lot of success, lucrative opportunities, sprawling all over the place. You still need to get on a plane and go to that desert, even if it looks like nothing's there, even if you don't have this 5-10-point checklist of a plan worked out. It don't work like that. Our ancestors in nature doesn't work like that. So when I see people even preparing to repatriate, I'm like, baby, if you just got you somewhere to stay when you get here, please just use that, because the rest of that stuff is expectations. They're expecting, oh, well, I have this business, and I'm gonna come out there and this is what I'm gonna do, and I can tell, like, that's an expectation. That's cool to have a plan, but it's not malleable. I can tell in how they're talking about it's not malleable, and it's too solid. It's too hardcore of a plan. You got to be able to just be natural and flow. So I was able to just have the clarity of knowing that the Gambia was the right place, because remember, I did the divination and I looked at Ghana and I looked at the Gambia. And everything's been right on point, and I haven't even been out here long. And another thing I want to say is this is my first time in Africa. So that speaks to, the promises of your ancestors. It don't matter if you ain't been here or not, but if you are being led and you're going and doing what they tell you to do, you'll get the same gifts and rewards too. Does that make sense? I hope it's making sense. Yeah. But
yeah, it does. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've been out here, haven't been to Africa before, and I hear all these people with these questions and plans, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Yes, you should have a plan. It's a lot of ways to make money online, like just connect with the right network first. Go to your ancestors, see if this is even right for you. I was just clear that this was right for me, so, and that can really help people in their journey too. That's very important. If you're not clear, if you're just being influenced to come to Africa, but if you're being led to be here to fulfill your destiny, if your ancestors, if it's an ancestral call, that's completely different. But if you're being influenced and you're interested, totally different. So that's probably the best advice to give somebody as they repatriate, because that will shape your whole experience out here. Your expectations you have, are you even supposed to be out here? What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to conduct yourself? You may need to let go of that hardcore idea to start your trucking business. You may need to go over there and do something with sewing and fashion and cooking. It's so, like you said, those expectations put you in a box. And so if I only had an expectation to come out here and do a documentary about blah, 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 I don't even remember what the hell it was. I thought I was going to only be doing something around women's health. I don't even know. But that was a box, because this interior design, vacation property rental, all that other stuff, you know what I mean? It's just, I would have seen that had I been just looking at that box. This is what I need to do. This is what I got my degree in. And this is the way I want to come to Africa and help. It's like, honey, okay, but let it breathe a little bit. Let the ancestors be able to get in there somewhere,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we have to really, and a lot of people may have to really adjust to, and you see it there, I'm sure, in the Gambia. I've seen it, the places that I've been on the continent, is that it's not that people are slow. Is that people operate off of natural time. They don't operate off of machine time, and that's a huge difference. Natural time says it's an internal clock that says, oh, it's time to get up and do blah, blah, blah. Machine time says you better get up. It's
Right.
like an emergency thing. And so machine
Right.
time says you have to do this, you have to get up at 6, you have to get up at 5 or whatever time and get dressed by 5:30, be out of the door by 6:30. That's what machine time says.
Right.
Natural time says, oh, it's time to get up.
Let me ask you something, Chief. In regards to a culture being, naturally the way they are when we come, can you speak to how people think that our presence would somehow mess up the economy and, for people that are planning to repatriate and people that's not, it's a lot of chatter about Africa coming out here as if coming out here is going to make it go inflation crazy and being in the Gambia, it may be cheap now, but it's going to be expensive like Ghana. Can you kind of get into that just a little bit? Because I think that's a very important thing to address as we have so many people watching and looking and wanting to be out here. And I think that it's important to dispel rumors and ignorance when we have wisdom in the room.
Right. So one of the things people have to understand is that, inflation is not a bad thing. It's not. It's an indicator of how your economy is doing. That's what it is. And so we want that to be in place because we want to see that indicator. And so if you have people coming to a city and they're bringing resources, that is a tremendous boost on the economy itself. And then it actually increases, salaries or income of the people who are actually the residents of that community. So then it affords them an opportunity to improve their standard of living. It affords all the shop owners the access to actually sell more goods and actually increase the price of goods so that they are able to earn a better income, a higher income. And so it's actually a good thing, when people come. And so if the cost of living goes up and the cost of housing goes up, it as long as it doesn't go up to a point where it's like really out of control, and it's actually a match for the growth of the economy, or inflation is a match for the growth of the economy, it's fine. It's perfectly fine, because it's not like you're gonna price people out of the housing market or whatever other market when there's balance that exists. So it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, people are acting like it's gonna be doom and gloom, but I understand where that comes from. Can we really speak to where those types of comments come from? Because it's not coming from a person with an economics degree. It's not coming from people that have anything that they've built or been able to stimulate an economy really before on a mass or impactful level. So can we really speak to the spiritual battle that goes on mentally and all that chatter that we need to really put to rest, because it's some people that's going to get in the comments and write a senior dissertation about how it's still going to be awful and terrible and all this type of stuff. So let's get past that, because we don't debate with that. We go to the higher ground and talk about what's making them say that and where the mindset is coming from. Can you speak to all of these, negativity and, oh, it's going to be bad, it's going to be this, it's going to be that? Why is it so much, fear and so much projected caution to come to repatriation? Where does that come from?
Well, it comes from, definitely, you said it, it's fear. It's fear of the unknown. It's fear of what they've actually projected. And it's possibly a reflection of their own lives, how their lives have turned out for them. And some people may not want to see the same thing happen in another place. They may not want to see like a carbon copy of the West in the East. They may not want to see that, and it doesn't have to be that at all. If people will methodically bring forth resources and create industries with thought and with consideration and with looking at the culture itself and saying, okay, I'm going to bring you know, a trucking business. You used that example earlier. Now, a trucking business in, for example, in the U.S. or in Europe may, and I'm not even may, it will have to look differently on the continent. It's not going to be the same. So you can't pick that up, plot that right here. As it is, it's gonna look different. It's gonna look the same because the mentality of the people, you know, they're different. They're very laid back, and like I said, they don't operate off of machine time. They operate off natural time, so that makes it different. So I think more so it's the fear that drives people to say those things. It's and I'm going to use ignorance from the perspective of the true definition, not saying like they're dumb ignorance, but just ignorance. It drives it, and not properly doing research on how economies are actually impacted. And so people don't know those things. And so they're speaking from hearsay, they're speaking from what they think, you know, something is or something is not. And so when you do that, you speak out of this abyss of ignorance. And then they'll say,
and a lot of our people are in that abyss of ignorance. You know, right now as it relates to Africa and repatriation, we even got people talking about you cowards for wanting to go to Africa. Can you really speak on that too? Because we have to see our people executed every day, and somehow we supposed to want to stay in that environment and not want to pick an environment where that's not happening. So can you speak to that also, that backlash and that chatter in the collective about Africa?
They were cowards, huh? Well, you know, if people can have their opinion, which they do, and I have nothing going on with people's opinion. But sometimes we behave as though we were actually in a partnership with the U.S. or with slave owners. We act like there was actually a partnership that existed. There was a contract, and they violated the contract. So because they violated the contract, you owe me something based upon the conditions of this contract. There was no contract at all. Now, there were some promises made that I think still need to be fulfilled, 40 acres and a mule and blah, 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 because those are promises that were made that went unfulfilled. But outside of that, you know, we weren't in a contract with them. The reality is, you know, our ancestors were slaves. That's reality. And there are conditions that come along with being a slave. And we have to accept that one of the conditions of being a slave is that you're not owed anything. That's really the condition. But we have to accept that it's being so. And so I don't have a problem with people who want to like stay and fight. I don't even have a problem with people who say that people who want to repatriate are cowards. I have nothing going on with that at all. But people who want to repatriate, you have to understand why they want to repatriate. Some people can actually see the pride. And some people can actually see the beautiful landscape of the country. And what I mean by that is how it could look if we brought the proper technology, the proper industry, they can see it rise. And I can tell you one thing for certain, two things for sure. I have looked at Africa from about 50 different angles within the context of a divination. At the end of the day, Africa is going to win. It always comes out ahead, no matter how I define. I've asked 1,001 questions to see whether or not the result will be the same, and the result is the same. It is going to win at the end of the day, period. So you can actually be on the winning side or not. It's your choice. That's what it is at the end of the day. And so when people say those things, that people are cowards for leaving, they're not cowards for leaving. Maybe they can see something you can't see. Maybe they can see building a whole new economy, a whole new empire, so to speak. Maybe they can see that in the other person who says that they're cowards not see at all.
Right.
in order for progress to happen, everybody can't do the same thing. It's like when you go to war, everybody can't grab a gun and shoot.
Right.
Nah, I promise you, you're going to lose.
Right.
Somebody has to strategize. You have to have a medic over here. You have to have just so many different facets to war and to a military. There's several different arms. So everybody, quite frankly, everybody doesn't want to fight in that way. They just don't. But it's a choice, and they're making the choices that accommodate them the best. I have nothing going on with anybody who wants to see a fight. I have nothing going on with people who are like, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm tired of it. And people have a right to be sick of it and tired of it. People have a right, an inherent right to want something better for themselves and for their lives. And they have a right to want it now. They have a right to, and people have a right to fight if they think that is the thing that's going to better their lives. They have a right to do that. I have nothing going on with any of that at all. But my opinion, I think our thinking around it needs to change. And I think subconsciously, I don't even think it's consciously, there are people who may disagree with me, but subconsciously, when you look at our behavior, we behave as though we're owed something based upon an agreement that was broken. Because it's always, you owe us, blah, blah, blah. A slave owner honestly owed a slave nothing. There was no agreement between the slave owner and the slave. It just didn't exist. And I'm going to say again, because people are going to misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the promises that were made. There were certain promises that were made, 40 acres and a mule and blah, 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 that were not fulfilled. Yes, that needs to be fulfilled. But outside of that, nobody, we're not owed anything. There was no contract, there's no agreement. But anyway, I can talk about that all day. And that's people asking for whatever they ask, but that's their choice to do that. It is. But go ahead.
Well, you know why it bother you? Because you at peace. When people start talking like that, you at peace. A lot of stuff don't bother you, Chief. I see a lot of stuff don't bother you anyway, but especially when it comes to this, I likened it to people that's in an insane asylum, that's talking all that talk. It's like, that's a time wasting mechanism, and it's it's a coping mechanism too. To that's what prisoners do. They have to play cards. They got to keep up games, like senseless things to occupy their time, because you're behind enemy lines, and you need that to soothe yourself, and it keeps you busy. So that's not our game anymore. I think the next level to Black empowerment is coming to Africa, especially now, because we're seeking peace. We want refuge. I don't know any other group of people that were, laughed at because they migrated. People migrate. You know what I mean? We got the whole immigration squad up in America, and we're proud of, immigrants built this country, but they migrated here, so we ain't say nothing about them. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, we can migrate too. It's a right, it's a human right to migrate. It just is. It's one of the things that human beings do and our species do. It's just like hunting, gathering food. I mean, it's the same thing. So migration is a part of the human experience. So I'm glad that you went into detail on that, but we ain't bothered by it because we got the belly of the beast.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and real quick, what we have to understand is this. If you look at China rose as a nation economically, not because something just happened by happenstance. There was a plan in place. The Chinese government put out a call for her children to come back home. And these are people who were 4, 5, one generation removed from China, who knew nothing about the culture, couldn't even speak Chinese. But when she called them home, guess what they did? They packed up and went home. And they took the knowledge that they gained out in the diaspora throughout the world, and they took it back home and began to create industry.
You know what I thought about when you said that? They weren't thinking about how they was gonna be received.
No.
You know.
No, they weren't.
You come in, how were you received? And I'm like, honey, how are you received in America? You received with a big fat, knee on your neck and gun to your head. What you talking about? How am I gonna be received? It's like people are waiting for that formal invitation. That's what it made me think about. China called this, people home. They waiting on Instagram DM, a private message, a knock on the door. Well, Africa haven't made that call to its people. When? How? Where? What you talking about? We don't think that Africa's done that for us. What would you say to people that question and wonder, how will we be received?
Look, Africa has been doing that since at least that I'm aware of. They've been doing it since then. The thing is, we didn't get the memo. I'm gonna leave it like that.
That works for me.
Because
we didn't get the memo. They did it. The same people that be saying that, they don't get memos anyway. They late and delayed. They the last person to find out about just regular trends. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the people that's just that late and delayed in culture. So yeah, Africa's always wanted its children to come home. I'm sorry that it didn't come in the form of what you call those things, the desserts, the little fruit baskets that you just send people, with the chocolate on them. It didn't come like that. You didn't get a singing telegram. They went for a formal and emotional circle jerk and masturbation session to come to Africa and wondering how they're gonna be received. Let me tell you something. You receive like a prisoner, you're treated like a prisoner, and you're treated like 3/4 of a human being or 1/5 of a human being, however it is. They treat dogs with more respect than Black people. I tell you one thing, that ain't a problem out here. Wondering how you're gonna be received, but I promise you, you'll actually have some Black privilege out here. You can take that or get treated like a dog. So that's the question. That's the answer to the question of how we gonna be received. How you received now? Okay. Next.
Yeah, but the things like we don't understand is that back in the 90s, Ghana was giving away 50 acres of land for people to come from the diaspora and move there and help develop. You have 5 years to develop the land, and then develop or do something with the land within 5 years. It's taken back. And I remember that being announced. The Nation of Islam announced that. And Farrakhan, if I'm not mistaken, that's who set that up for us. And I don't know if people remember back in the 90s when he got in a lot of trouble around meeting with various African leaders. The U.S. said they were dictators and he shouldn't meet with them, and he got in a bit of trouble about that. But what he was doing is he was working on our behalf, setting it up so that we could move. But we were off doing whatever we were doing at the time, and it just went under the radar. Most people didn't know that those things existed. Didn't know.
Yeah.
We were busy, whatever we were doing, in the 90s. Who knows? We were doing that stuff. We weren't really paying attention.
Being European, being working for Mr. Charlie, we were busy trying to attain the American dream, which we realized is a nightmare. That's what we were busy doing, in my opinion. Attaining unattainable things that were not gonna last. But let's kind of skip ahead a little bit. We talked about the divinations and how integral that was for me knowing that I was supposed to be out here. We talked about people being cowards or perceived as being cowards. The mindset for who's really ready to come out to Africa to plan, how you need to be flexible and really getting a connection to a support system first. What are some other things that you think that people could benefit from on their journey, getting prepared to come to Africa, and as it relates even to business, as it relates to even making money and sustaining themselves? Is it some things that you have seen that have worked for you that you recommend to other people that can help you sustain yourself while you're on the continent from a business level?
Well, I want to say two things. Two types of people need to come. Say that first. Creators and builders. Those are the people who are actually needed. If you're not a creator or a builder, then you're someone who's a worker. You don't really need to come if you're a worker. If you're a creator or a builder, those are the people who need to come. And when you come, really take the time to get to know the residents, because you will find that these are like, they're some of the nicest people in the world. And when you know people, you actually have access. And it's not difficult to get to know people. It's not difficult to gain access at all. It's just opening your mouth and just being human is what it is at the end of the day. And to build relationships is just being human, just talking, hanging out and just socializing. You don't have to be a social butterfly. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not a social butterfly at all. But it's just being human. And that's the best thing you can do when you come out here. Because, for example, if you want to come out here and be a farmer, just an example. And it's probably, I don't know if it works in the Gambia, but I'm going to assume that it may work the same way. But I know here, if you know a chief in a community, and chiefs actually have the power. So those are the people you need to get to know, and it's not difficult to get to know them. It's not difficult at all. You don't need a disappointment and have to go through all this bureaucracy to get to know them. But if you want to farm and you know a chief and you build a relationship, they will actually give you the farmland to farm on. And so all you're responsible for is, you just pay them a yearly, I think there's a yearly fee or something like that you pay them, but it's not like it's a lot. You just have to, be able to show reciprocity. That's the best thing. That's the best way I can say that. And, you can be given, 10 acres of land to farm on. It's not your land to keep, maybe you can buy it later, but it's the way that you can come and start, and you have not zero, but you have very little overhead. All you have to do is you don't have to worry about the land, worry about getting the seed and the equipment to farm. That's all you have to worry about at that point. So it's just really coming and building relationships, and not building relationships from a Western perspective, but building relationships where you're actually being integrated into a community, where you're actually being integrated into a family. That's the kind of relationship it is. It's not like a business relationship, even though that's something that does exist. But people will actually begin as family, and they will treat them. And so
that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I know one of the things that we're offering is an already made sustainable community of us and Gambians, a team. You're working. It's cool to come and see it as a working opportunity, but it's better to look at it as family. It's a lot different. That's what we were disconnected from in the West. We got too corporate, and we don't operate as a village. So that's one of the biggest things that you can do is come and not think of it as a corporation per se, but think of it again as a working family that everybody has many roles and functions, and you just get in where you fit in. And all of your needs will be met. Your food, clothing, shelter, housing, all that good stuff is met. So that's the best thing I think I learned coming here. Yes, you come into a family of people with business knowledge. Please understand that now. When they graft themselves and fold into our network, you have killer business knowledge. I have killer business knowledge, and so do the people that are in our particular family and network. But I just kind of wanted to mention that as well, because you have a business background. You are able to give classes in the womb school and share things with people, how they can stop hustling and start a line. And I've seen you, that's been a testament to how you're in touch with your ancestors. You don't struggle and worry about money. You're one of the most successful people that I know on a personal level. But you're so modest, you know, about all of it. You have a background that's killer in business and very much executive business level background. So if you could kind of talk about not hustling, start aligning, that type of business advice for people too, coming into a family and how it looks coming to Africa with a different mindset, you know, about business and sustaining itself.
Ask that question one more time. There's some noise in the background. I couldn't quite hear it.
Okay, I was saying, could you tell people how they can prepare themselves, what they can look forward to when it comes to that, the family dynamic, and your background, not hustling and aligning?
Yeah. So one of the things that you can look forward to is the best way I can describe it is peace of mind. But you don't get it, you don't understand that until you come. And in the family dynamic, it's everybody works, everybody chips in, everybody participates within the building of the family, within the success of the family itself. And so that's how things actually work here. If I understand your question correctly, there's still a little bit going on in the background, so.
Not really. I need you to talk about how people can stop hustling and start aligning, and how you making so much money and not stressing and stuff like that. That's what we talk about. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, that one. Oh, so it's really when you're connected to, I'm going to say, your ancestors, like on a very intimate level, and you allow yourself to become the full expression of who you came into this world as, you actually begin to take on this way of being where you don't worry about anything. There's zero concern. And so I was, like, when I was doing my background is in software development and data migration, data conversion. When I was doing consulting work, and I heard this clear voice, because I knew it was my ancestors. They said, "Okay, basically this is your last contract, period." And of course, I had some concerns. I was like, "Well, but I need money, income," and it was very clear. They said, "Look, don't worry about it. We got you." And I literally walked away from all of that in a day. And
how much did you walk away from? You was getting paid pretty nice, over 6-figure salary, you would say?
Oh yeah. I was definitely, I was definitely making like over $100 an hour, something like that. And so I walked away from that. And initially I was like, hold up, time out. You want me to do what now? And they made it very clear, you need to walk away and you need to begin to fulfill your purpose. And once they said that, once they said, okay, we got you taken care of, I didn't worry about anything else. And so I've never looked back at all.
How long ago was that?
It's going on 3 years now.
That's amazing. I remember I met you. Yes. Matter of fact, I met you when you were doing a computer program, matter of fact. And you weren't full-time, you know, doing divinations teaching and who you are now doing what you do now. We're not full-time. Amazing. Right. That's amazing. But you was making a pretty penny, and I realized that you never, stepped down your lifestyle. When people go to something else, another job, and they say, "Oh, the Lord told me to leave, but I had to struggle for 5 years." you know, no, you didn't go through that. Like you just went, it wasn't even a lateral move. Like you kind of went from one position and you took a better position though. So,
Right.
yeah, like a lot of people wouldn't think that would happen. You left corporate America, you're making, you know, more as you follow your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get more out of life. It's not about money, it's about a quality of life. It's that peace, it's the invaluable, intangible stuff, right? You know, it's $1 billion worth of value to know that I'll never be a Sandra Bland out here. I won't ever have a foot on my neck by the cops here. That, I don't know if you can put a price tag on that. So those types of things I see in that. Like you get so much in fulfilling your purpose. Your quality of life is way different than just a higher salary. So yeah, I'm glad that you went to that. What's been the biggest benefit for you doing your work and not being in computer programming? Did you think that it would take this small of a window to get here?
No, I mean, and honestly, I thought that I would be, you know, developing software, because I actually love developing software. But in software, doing data migration, you know, for the rest of my life, that's something I have a passion for. So I started developing software when I was about 10-ish, 10 or 11 or something like that. So it's something I've always done, something I've always had a passion for. And I just didn't see myself doing anything else in regards to having a career. Definitely, you know, expanding my business and things like that. But, you know, I just love developing software. And since I've actually stopped and began to do the work that I do now, I can't say that I've ever been more fulfilled in my life.
I see it. I can tell.
Experience I've ever had in my life, because when you begin to fulfill your purpose, life actually becomes very easy.
Yeah.
I say easy, I mean extremely easy. It doesn't mean that life doesn't happen, because life happens. But when life happens in a way that's unfavorable, it's just unfavorable. Like when things happen that are unfavorable, I just like, this is what we're doing. I just keep going.
Yeah.
It does not change in the least.
I'm learning to be like that too. I got just a couple more questions, and we can talk just a little bit more before my battery runs low. I just want to thank you for being patient with me. You know, you've been so patient with me through these these 3 years when I was a hot mess, and now that I'm evolving into a queen mother and learning how to be more compassionate and patient. The people of the Gambia Academy is teaching me. I see why my ancestors were very, very adamant about me being here. All the promises of my ancestors are just flooding right now. And it makes me laugh, like I giggle, like I see a diamond, you know, mine in my backyard, gold mine in my backyard. That's how I feel. Like I feel like the cat that's got the bird in its mouth. It's my treasure, but I'm sharing it with people like, listen, if you can connect your ancestors, get divinations, you don't have to worry about your life. I was even getting divinations and still stressing out. Remember, I was stressing out right before I left. I couldn't sleep. I didn't think I'd get my passport, and you were with me every step of the way, just reassuring me. I didn't think I was going to get out in time. Remember that? It was this impending doom. I was with Dinky Rest, you know, and you and Quasi were really, really integral to help me. Quasi was on the other side, like, come on, we got you, it's okay, and you were over on that side, making sure that checklist, the passports, you know what I mean, was done. That, you know, every little thing that I needed to be mentally prepared to complete to do, because it was stressful. I was going through stress. I was getting divinations, but it was still nerve-wracking going to this unknown place, and they tell me it's gonna be awesome and dope and successful. I'm like, all right, and I did it. And I keep smiling like, Chief, you helped me get up out of there, and I got out of there just in time. And I hope that people can utilize, you know, your knowledge, wisdom, your gift to be able to make their moves in their life too, man. Like you can't move without your ancestors, and you can make better moves when you're clear and you have clarity. I don't question what the divination says, and I mean even down your love life. everything has been accurate. My husband, and when you're gonna be, all that type of stuff that you want to know is accurate. So I just thank you for your time, Chief. I know that we're going to talk so much more. Y'all need to go to chiefmontana.com, sign up for an ARC course. That'll really get you started, and you need to get in the womb school as well, because that's where he is, I am, and you have access to that. Also, you can go to artcatheyheals.com. You can send me an email if you have any questions about joining our private network, but we do encourage you to be a member, become a part of the womb school and our investors, so you can really be an integral part of developing and growing in Africa. Did you want to say anything else? Because I know we're going to be using you and utilizing your skill sets for our properties out here in Ghana. It's a lot popping off and going on, you know, so being our eyes and ears and being a part of our team, I'm looking forward to that. So did you want to say anything else before we got out of here, Chief? I'm at 20%. I mean, it's not too bad, but did you want to kind of add something to that too? But I'm thanking you for being so integral for me being here.
Oh, you're very welcome. And, you know, thank you for having me on this, on your platform. And also, you know, really thank you for being you. Because in life, but one thing one of my mentors told me a long time ago, he said, you can't transform unless you're in the business of transforming others. And so
I like that.
need to transform just being you, and bringing everything about you to the table. Because those of you, the people who know you and seen you, they know that ain't nothing up under the bed. What you see is what you get, period. And so nothing is fake or false or anything like that. So I want to thank you for that. And I just want to encourage people to really begin to take a look at like our traditional system, things that sustain our ancestors for thousands and thousands of years. So we have to understand that other people are looking. Other people are actually, in some instances, more interested in our tradition, our traditional system, than we are. And they are using those systems. They're using it for their benefit. And it's working for them. And I'm speaking about, you know, I've seen people from all different backgrounds. I'm not just talking about, you know, well, actually, I'm talking about specifically people who are not of African descent, so European, maybe Asian, or whatever. They're actually using our systems because they understand how powerful they are. They get that.
Yeah.
We don't get it because we've been trained to run from it. We've been trained that it's evil and it's bad. And the reality is, it's no different than Christianity or any Judeo-Christian based religion itself. It's how you use it which dictates the outcome, whether it's a favorable outcome or an unfavorable outcome. It's actually the person. It's not the system itself. The system sits alone. It stands on its own. And you have an opportunity to use it, you know, how you deem.
Well, they can learn more, I know for sure, in your classes. My battery is going down, but I know I want them to be able to get in touch. Can you send your email, please? Because I know they're going to be all in the comments, like asking questions as if this is time. We're going to have a seminar with them in the comments. You know, send your real questions to his email address. Please tell them your email address.
Yeah, so you can send all questions and comments to ARC question, QUESTION, 0322 at gmail.com. You send them all there.
Okay, I'll put that in the comments as well. And Chief will put it in the comments as well. But y'all need to go to chiefmontana.com. Sign up for the next class, get in the womb school, all that. I'm so happy I was able to finally talk with you, chop it up, and introduce y'all to my spiritual support system. This is the reason I'm out here doing what I'm doing in a way my life has beautifully unfolded for me is all because of what I've learned. And a lot of people can say the same. You do your thing out here and you're fulfilling your purpose, and you're one of the most powerful, influential people I know. And thank you so much for who you are and what you're doing, man. I'm out here living nice, peacefully, and that's because I listen, to my divination. And I feel so lucky that I have a practice that empowers me. It's so empowering. It's so different than hoping and praying, Lord, lead me to Africa. Right? It's just like we don't do that no more. So
Right.
I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm sure we'll have you back. It's gonna be a lot more content that they'll see on my channel. I'm gonna be giving y'all content just randomly. I need to start the series so y'all be able to see the content of what he's doing out in Ghana. Some people that he knows, and we're all interconnected. So be connected to the people out here that are really doing things, and that can help you level your life up and live your purpose. So I'll leave it there. I love you guys. Love you too, Chief. Thank you so much. And we got to do this again very soon. I hear them animals out there in nature back there, honey. They've been clucking all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about the continent. Everything is free. Like the animals are grown, the people are free. It's beautiful.
Yes, it is. Well, I'll be out in Ghana soon, and let's definitely do this again very soon. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Everybody have a great day.
All right, guys.